Welcome back. And this time I've pressed record to Potion of the Chatterpillar, episode 2. I made it to episode 2, which is very exciting for literally nobody. But I'm here with very famous wargamer and beloved by his many, many minions. It's only Kings of War admin, Jon Faulkes. Jonathan? Why have I never called you Jonathan in your life?
Yeah, there are two people who call me Jonathan, both times, my mum and my wife. Both times, usually when I'm in lots of trouble.
Fair enough. Anyway, Jon, welcome to the show. Thank you for being my guest.
No, well, thank you very much for inviting me on. It's all threatening me, and I think the photos you've got are really quite, they never come and see yes. light of day again.
I can superimpose them right now on the screen in post-production.
Actually, to be fair, there's some quite horrible photographs of me singing to Bohemian Rhapsody, I think, at 4 Foot Snake.
Oh, yeah, I saw those on Facebook.
Yeah, that's an unpleasant experience for everybody else.
Anyway,
I loved it.
People watching this don't realise that we've done the beginning of the show already, but without pressing record. So Jon, boring as the will be for you.
Would you like my history and backstory?
Oh, do you know what? That would be a great idea. But
would that be a good start?
Who you are, Jon? Would you mind telling us? Who are you? Where in the world are you?
Where in the world am I? My name's Jon Faulkes. I was about to start giving my job title then.
Yes, regional such and such.
Originally, I'm from God's wonderful creation, Yorkshire, but I moved down to the East Midlands about 25, nearly 30 years ago. I live just south of Nottingham, so right in the Lead Belt, and I've been gaming since the early 80s when I first started playing D&D and AD&D, before moving on to other role-playing games such as Paranoia and Traveller. If you've never seen Paranoia, never played Paranoia, look it up. It is absolutely bonkers. It is very, very weird, and quite massively dystopian, which is probably very relevant to current society, to be brutally honest. So I played that. I remember playing Warhammer, must have been about 83, 84. Don't ask me which version it was. It was somebody brought it to the gaming club at school, where we played AD&D, and I tried it out. I remember playing a goblin army, and the entire thing ran off the field after the first shot was fired at it, which is probably pretty accurate for goblins. So I stopped playing any sort of games between 14 and 19 because girls. And also I was playing a lot more rugby then, so I decided to go for the jock rather than nerd look. When I went to university, I started playing again, AD&D, and that's really where I kind of left it then. Right way through to when I started work and I could actually afford to do to play
right, that's the problem, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, that's it. So I met Sharad Vora when I started down in Loughborough. And he became my dealer. So he was working for Games Workshop at the time, I think. And so we got lots of models, lots of miniatures. He introduced me to more and more games, to the point where now I've got a very large orc army downstairs, very large goblin army, and a very large wood elf army, all from the old metal miniatures, all sat downstairs in various different boxes. And I've got 3 40k armies. I've got Inquisitor models. I've got Mordheim. I've got Necromunda. I've got all the GW things. Battlefleet Gothic. Got a massive army of that.
People don't know, by the way, Sharad Vora he's a TO here in the UK. He runs.
Yeah, he's a TO of Battle Masters, which is
the original Kings of War tournament.
Yeah, the first one. And it's a good event. Usually got some very weird rules and very weird scenarios. We do try and calm him down a little bit now, but he does tend to make them quite bonkers. His latest trick was to try and put it on at the same time as Clash of Kings was on. If anybody's seen the Facebook pages today, we were frantically reached out to Sharon and said, look, having one on the 9th of October in Loughborough doesn't work when everybody else is in Cardiff. So try an alternate to it, please. So I got into the hobby there. Took a bit of a step back, really. I played a 40k tournament, got my ass absolutely whooped. I was playing a very, very fluffy Khorne army, which was just Berserkers and Bloodletters. And then really took a step back as I started caring a little bit more about my professional career and spending less and less time pissing about, dossing around. And eventually I needed something just to chill out. So Shard said, "Well, have you come across Semantics miniatures?" I went, "No." So got a box set of orcs for about 12, 13 quid. Painted them up, loved it, loved the relaxing, just painting things. Then said, "Well, hold on, you can do a whole armies of dwarves for 35 quid. I think it was for £40 at the time." So I thought, right, I'll get 2 boxes of that. So I made out a very nice, around 2,000 points of army of dwarfs. Added some Rumshuckle game things to as badgerizers, and took them to the first pre version 1 alpha tournament at Maelstrom Games up in Mansfield.
Does it still exist, Maelstrom Games?
Sorry?
Does it still exist, Maelstrom Games?
No. It went bust a few years ago in a rather messy ending. But it was a really nice venue in old mill in Mansfield. So yeah, that was quite a lot of years ago. And that's where I infamously decided not to use a movement tray and just decided to base all my models on a single bit of MDF.
Right.
Which is the origin, which I claim was the first bit of multibasing.
Right, we talked about this on was it on camp? Where was he talked about it? Was it on Counter Charge?
Oh no, Matt Crodger takes piss out of it constantly, so I keep having to mention it now because he just gets wound up by it.
It was that you were, because people don't know this. Jon Faulkes is the father of multibasing, as in he bought multibases for the very first time to a Clash of Kings, or no, to this pre-version 1 tournament.
Yeah, pre-version 1.
Wasn't it? Ronnie went and went, "Oh, that's a good idea," like that.
And he did. He absolutely said that because I had dice running behind it to measure the because I actually left space on the unit base so I could put dice there, and I had like 16, 17 dwarfs on there. So yeah, that was. But the standout from that tournament really was Kings of Men army with 14 war machines.
Right, version 1, everyone. It wasn't
the pre-version 1 before we actually nailed it down a little bit and made it because they had a 55-point unit which unlocked war machines and there was no restrictions. So one of the guys at Mantic.
It just sounds so much fun.
It was certainly interesting how that went. Not pleasant. So
fast forwarding a few years, John, to now. What are you left playing now? So obviously you are a man in your vintage.
Thank you.
Like 2 years older.
Like my wine.
With your wine. So what games are you still playing today? Now. Well, very few at the moment. You've never done nothing.
I've tried UB and no, I just don't enjoy it. I can't. I like the physical nature of it. So games I play now, I've got Kings of War armies, got loads of them.
Yeah.
I've got Dead Zone, 2 factions in Dead Zone, Dreadball. I've just been painting up my second team with Dreadball and Armada, and I've got 4 fleets of Armada. But again, never played those. So
not yet. Same. So it's fair to say that if we cut you down the middle, it kind of says Mantic down the middle now, right?
I think it just says new shiny. So I tend to jump onto new things. I'm tempted to get back into 40k, but I just keep looking at it and going, I can't. No,
it's so much, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And the thing is, I'm unlikely to play it. I'm just going to do it for painting, and if I'm going to paint models, I don't want to paint just bloody Space Marines. So no. And besides, I can play 40k. I've got some armies downstairs. They're just very old.
They're much smaller than anyone else's armies, right?
Yeah, that's it. They're great for hiding behind terrain.
Wow, that's easy. Terrain is another passion. So would you describe yourself as bring on the graphics? They're very poor quality.
Right. Is it that way or that way?
I can't remember. I think, are you a competitive gamer or are you a hobby gamer? That way. Would you describe yourself as a competitive gamer or a hobby gamer?
Anyone who's ever played me can't describe me as competitive.
Very challenging match when I thrashed you.
Yes, yeah. No, I'm more of a hobby gamer. I enjoy the painting aspect of it, but to be honest, the biggest thing for me is social. I just enjoy the interaction with people.
Am I going to have to make another graphic? For fuck's sake!
I'm a social gamer. I go to tournaments even when I'm not playing, just couldn't meet up with people. I went down. In fact, I went to Cardiff for the Clash of Kings whenever the last time down there because I couldn't commit to the weekend because I was away on business the week before, and so right last minute I said, "Oh, sod it," booked an Airbnb and went down and just got incredibly drunk with everybody down there and wandered around the tables, and that because that's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely, brilliant. So what are you working on right now? Can you show us what's on your painting hobby type table thing?
I've got some Yindri.
Oh, here we go.
There we
go.
What
we'll do. Let's hold them up to the camera now. What we'll do is we'll send some nice photos so they'll be actually like superimposed on the screen. Yes. What's a Yindri?
They are one of the some sort of squirrel monkey thing from Dead Zone.
Oh, Dead
Zone. No, Dreadball.
Oh, Dreadball. I figured they were Dreadball. Yeah,
Dreadball and Armada. So I've got my gelato fleet.
I've been seeing this. You painted them like an ice cream color. Like
they weren't intended to be that bright, but they turned out to be really, really bright. So then I and John Guns commented that they looked like an ice cream salesman. But I then did some quick research into Renaissance Italy and some logos and symbols. And then found 3 that matched the color scheme fairly closely. So painted those logos on the vessels. So yes, they are my gelato fleet.
I like that. That's really nice. So John, thinking back over your substantial wargaming career, what would you describe as your coolest wargaming moment?
Okay. Well, most of my coolest things have been when I've been over to the US. I've been extremely privileged to be allowed to go across from my other half and privileged to be able to afford it to travel across to the US for tournaments. So I've been 3 times now. But obviously the highlight there, I mean, beating Tom Annis in round 1 at Lone Wolf was quite good.
I'm sure Tom would love to be reminded of that.
Oh yes, yeah. Particularly because Tom was absolutely spanking me at the time. But it was one of Mark Cox's infamous first round ones where there's about 18 different objective things you got to do.
Right.
And I was paying slightly more attention than Tom was. So I ended up winning. We were both looking and going, I don't know how you've done that, but we won. And I went for the first the first day unbeaten, 3 wins. So that was giving nosebleed time. But the best one was, by far, my most awesome experience was actually playing Jesse in a doubles tournament in Blue City Brawls in 2019. Because doubles is my favorite type of game because it's much more relaxed, much more chilled. So I'm playing a more relaxing, more chilled game against one of the nicest people you ever want to meet, and it was as good as you'd imagine it was. I mean, it was hilariously good. So yeah, that was. And because I've known Jesse for quite some time, and I knew who was ill. So when I was coming to Blue City Brawls, I said, "Look, we need to get a game because I need to have a game with you." So it was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. So what model that you've painted would you say you are the proudest of?
Well,
and do you have it to hand?
I have a couple to hand that I'm reasonably proud of. So we've got Hulk.
He's really cool.
Yeah. So with red skin, where I've gone wet blending the skin, some edge highlights on the armor, and some OSL on it. So properly trying out different techniques. Because it's Dead Zone, it's only a small number of models, so you can put a little bit of effort in.
Yeah.
And possibly my Basilean dragon, which is not a Basilean dragon, it's actually a dark elf dragon.
You never guess what?
Which is... Oh, we've got Snapsies. Oh, we have.
Red!
Yeah, I just think it's a really nice dragon.
Yeah, a really cool dragon.
Yeah, and it fits really nice on the 75mm base because it's all vertical. And I do like that dragon.
You see how long it is since I've played? Still on a 50.
So my models, I'm not the world's best painter. I never would ever claim to be. But what I tend to do is aim for looking good from 3 feet away.
I think you're great. I've seen your stuff, and my favorite of your stuff is your chunky bases on your Empire of Dust. I love them. It's like you could. They
are huge.
They're really good. That's
all to do with what the material I could get for it. So yeah, some pre-formed expanded polystyrene basing, and yes, it's 10mm thick, I think it is.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, they're on chunky bases with a rose with a rose red sort of tint to the base, so it looks like sandstone, based on the city's half its oldest time in Jordan.
So, John, if you could give one tip to somebody who was starting playing wargaming now, and I've seen a lot of people, particularly on Fanatics, coming up saying, I'm starting playing wargaming, what piece of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, don't buy a big box. don't go there. It's
you can hear Ronnie Renton going,
buy small. Seriously, buy a. It depends on what you're into the hobby for. Right. But assuming you've got similar mindset to me, so you want a bit of painting, you like something that looks nice and do something. So buy a box of something that you think looks cool. Then buy it. Then come on to Fanatics and say, I've just bought this box. Any tips for building it? Yeah. So because they may use a different type of glue, maybe some tricks and tips that we've got, because everybody's been through it. Like the Fiends have all got numbers on the little legs and fit into the right slot. And if you don't get it right, it's really difficult to do. And color schemes, people say, well, how do you do a light blue? How do you do a deep red? And just come to Fanatics and ask people. And whilst Fanatics does have a reputation for some assholes on there, although you are weeding them out, generally you'll get a really positive one. If you come in there saying, how do you do this? There's no instructions. How do I build this model? How do I do that? It's great, but start with a small box set. Don't go in there with a 75 quid, £80 box set and loads and loads of miniatures as your first attempt, because you'll look at it and go, and you get this, what I call, great plastic shock. You just go and go, and nothing gets done, and people stop. So start with something nice and small, something that you'll enjoy painting, something that looks cool to do, and then if you like it, then great, buy some more models. Then buy the big box set, because that's better value. But don't throw 75 quid away when you can spend 20 quid and get something that's going to actually deliver what the scratch, deal with the itch.
Yeah, sage advice. I like it. So let's talk about your gaming, because as people know, you are an elite gamer, very experienced.
Experience, yeah. I can certainly design a list that comes bottom of the tables most of the time.
Wow, so that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
When you're building a list, John, for Kings of War, how do you go about it? What's your process for building a list for Kings of War?
It's probably pretty much the same as everybody else. What I try to do is I like battle groups. So I'm a battle group person. So I know that some people don't agree with that, but I do. I like to have a fast wing. So where with some good fast moving hammers, most armies can produce those. Some do it better than others. Ultimately, I like simple armies. My AD&D characters were always warriors, because I don't like to worry too much about thinking. The hobby for me is a turn off. I have to think quite a lot of work. When I'm hobbying, I don't really want to think too much. Link that also with the 2-day event where I'm likely to be semi-conscious by game 3.
Exactly.
What I need is an army that I literally can push forward. So a nice fast bit with some chaff support for the fast bit, a slow moving core in the middle that somebody can run into, and then a smattering of something to keep me occupied in the shooting and magic phases.
But is a hammer and anvil list, basically.
Yeah.
Nice big slow moving anvil, nice fast hammer down the flank. I very much feel this in my heart. We are very similar. If we're looking for one tip, one kind of tactical gem from the mind of Jonathan Faulkes, from the teeming brain of Jonathan Faulkes, give us your tactical genius. Off you go.
Okay. Don't jump armies too often, and don't replace units too often. Play a game, play more games, play another third, fourth, fifth game with an army, and don't change things all the time. Don't chase the meta and things like that. Learn how to use your army, and you'll be much, much better at it than trying to jump to a new thing.
Wasn't there a famous Games Workshop employee who this was his philosophy?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
What was his name?
Anyway, he's stolen entirely from him. But yes, it's a great one to live by. Don't keep chasing the meta. Learn how to use your army. You can make some fundamental mistakes, and it's a shit army.
So you're keeping your allied butchers then in your Varangur army, are you?
No. That's only for virtual. That's only virtual. I brought those in.
All right, I see.
I don't have them
Never chases the
real
meta,
world.
Jon Faulkes. Let me see. Never
On UB, there's a lot of meta chasing going on.
Do what I say, not as I do. Right, children?
Listen to Uncle Jonathan. He knows what to do.
Amazing. So, Jon, any wise words to leave us with?
Yeah, and this is again, it's a bit of a been said before, but learning to paint really, really well and win awards is really quite difficult.
Yes.
Learning to play the game really, really well to win awards is really quite difficult. But to win sportsman awards, it's actually relatively easy, and you can practice really easily.
Just be a nice person.
Be nice.
Be nice. Be kind. I need my T-shirt from last week.
Yeah,
I love that. Thank you, Jon. Jon, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
I'm really happy, and we will see you maybe in another episode.
Do you want me to give you a bit of a unique and a bit of a new thing coming out? It's not far away.
Oh, before we finish,
yeah. So the 4-foot snake GT, with a name yet to be defined, is coming this year, and it's coming in September. All being well, assuming standard things with the government's progression, blah 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 blah. But we think that's going to be 3 months after every adult in the UK has been vaccinated. So we're expecting to get things open fully, and we will be having a GT.
So this is, for people who don't know, the only hobby-focused GT in the UK ever, which has only ran once.
Twice.
Ran twice. And then died a death.
Well, they died death because we were going to do it in February last year, but we couldn't I couldn't commit to it, and then it was then postponed to summer, and then everything happened. So Dan and I will be doing commentary. We're going to outsource the actual running the tournament to somebody else who's competent. It's Jan and Bob. So that's the plan. But again, it's all predicated on that everything goes as we're hoping. The governments are hoping. We're not going to rely on just on the government. As you know, I'm a scientist and I can read data like anybody else can. So even if the government say it's perfectly fine, but I think it's a really shitty idea, then we won't be having it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty confident at the moment. Yeah, I'm pretty confident at the moment things are going fine.
Great news. Well, on that bombshell, we shall leave you and say, I need to think of like a catchy tagline for the end of Potion of the Chatterpillar. I'll come up with it later. Bye!
Bye!